So you bought a company yesterday? Like, how did that happen?
It's not that easy. People just don't want to instantly sell. So, like, that process takes a while. It was a small one. It had a little over 300 doors.
What losing doors looks like. Are all of these doors already rented? Are you trying to find tenants for these doors?
So many business owners, they sell this pipe dream to themselves, like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, but then they end up worse off than a guy with a 9 to 5 because all they have is golden handcuffs.
If you think about great things and like you can believe that you're going to be a millionaire, billionaire, whatever it is, and you wholeheartedly believe it, it will happen for you.
We're building massive businesses. We're obviously this country, largest transfers of wealth. Baby boomers just coming of age. And if you buy a business and you have
So, welcome back to the KB podcast. My name's Kylie Brown. I have two of my colleagues on here, Daniel Patrick and Andrew Clements. Today is Wednesday, April Fool's Day. So, we're not going to be doing any Fool's Days jokes here today on the podcast. But today we're going to be talking about from dirt to doors and scaling vertical builds with property management, which we handle all those different trades. So, we're going to talk about one of the property management companies that we just purchased actually yesterday. We're going to jump in. So, how you guys doing today?
pretty good, man. Ready for spring because winter
Just
just well, yeah, but I mean,
Which-
usually there's still snow out here for me to ski on, but that's gone. So
Is
I'm
it?
I'm in spring mode now. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty much done.
Well, I mean, we
People are
talk about the weather because it's been absolutely crazy here in Missouri, which you know Missouri, but it was
yeah,
78 degrees like 2 weeks ago, and then the next day it was -2.
crazy, man.
And it's been in like the 70s, 80s, and the other day was actually even 90 during the winter. So, but now we're official spring, so
There you
come
go.
on, spring.
Yep,
As long as
yep.
it quits raining anyway.
So you bought a company yesterday? Like, how did that happen? Do you just go to
Uh,
the company store or like what's the deal?
and just say you go to the company store. No, especially in property management, man, nobody, it's not that easy. People just don't want to instantly sell. So like that process takes a while, from the time that you speak with an owner that possibly wants to sell to the time that you actually purchase it, I think it's been 6 months and that's quick.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, that is quick.
And just, I jokingly said the company store, but like what type of resource do you have to leverage to even find that? Like, were they advertising it? Like, did you, approach
So
them? Was it even on market?
I'll refer back to and I'm not saying this for all land development deals, but it's kind of like land development deals. If you find something that's listed, usually everybody else has already looked at it and they've
Yeah.
already ran it through the reamer. It's really not worth your time. So no, you got to go off market surfing and, find the different methods that actually work for finding property management companies, which obviously there's a ton of brokers out there that work
Mhm.
with different companies, or they'll start calling through, or they'll make a cold list, start,
Yeah.
email, mass texting, which makes it harder and harder because these little devices, there's so many different apps on it where you can block all that stuff. But there's always ways to get hold of people, even if it's on social media, Facebook, Instagram. There's always ways to contact those owners because I think what is it like 70% of the world right now is on social media.
Yeah.
Pretty high
It's
percentage. I don't
crazy.
remember what the number is, but it's pretty high.
Like I used to sell online education, like how to scale your business, this and
Yeah.
that. And I see a lot of people shifting focus to teaching people how to find these businesses. And like if anybody spent any time on social media and you've seen what I'm talking about, I think the big buzz phrase that I've been seeing is like we're seeing one of the largest transfers of wealth that anybody's ever seen because you have this all of these baby boomers that were entrepreneurs, they're getting to the point where they don't want to run a company anymore. And the majority of those people are just going to let their companies die unless their kids even want to take it on because they didn't even have the chance to sell it if they wanted to. And I guess and the other thing that I hear about a lot about is like boring businesses like laundromats and this and that, but I feel like a property management company has some more moving parts than your typical car wash or laundromat. Why in the world, did you go after a property management company when, surely there's many other businesses for sale that are easier to run just out of curiosity?
Well, it kind of goes hand in hand, which obviously I own a property management company already. So down in Florida.
Okay.
I won't mention the name of the one we just purchased, but it was a small one. It had a little over 300 doors. It's going to be a great company to bring on board. They could have easily handed it off to their daughter. Their daughter works for the company. She didn't want that responsibility, and they wanted to move out. I forgot where it is, but it's somewhere out close to you, Daniel, out in Idaho area.
Yeah.
They wanted to get moving, so they want to be out there by May, and we have about a 60-day transition phase. So they could have handed over their daughter, but they took the money, and she's still going to work for us. She sounds solid, but we're
Yeah.
already in the industry, and it goes hand in hand with what we do. So we are a developer, and we
Mhm.
build homes. So as that, we are looking to do BTRs in the future, which are build to rent communities. So if your build to rent communities need to be managed, guess who could do it now?
Yep.
You have that
Awesome.
all in house, and obviously it keeps your overhead lower. But the whole strategy there is to build that up where we're managing over 100,000 plus stores.
Yeah.
So we have quite a few more companies we need to purchase at this point.
Yeah, and I happen to have people in my social circle, besides you that have bought businesses or are actually still working as operators in businesses they sold. As a matter of fact, Kylie, when I was in our office about a month ago, we had a gentleman pull up in a brand new truck who had just sold his company. And he's still working there, making a multiple six-figure salary, but he doesn't have to run the company anymore. And the people that bought it from him knew nothing about HVAC, right? It was just like, a PE company up in Manhattan. So that kind of makes me wonder. I mean, well, not only the fact that you obviously know business, specifically property management companies, so like how to run them. But I mean, like, would you have gone for this deal had the daughter not been down to continue to work there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, we have an excellent staff. So if I
Mhm.
didn't have the right people on my team, I absolutely not. But she's amazing at what she does. But even if she didn't stay on board, they have
Mhm.
another representative over there. You don't need too many people to run 320 or 340 doors, whatever it is.
Yeah,
We already have the internal staff. That's part of our internal company to
got
be
it.
able to hand that off. So even if we had to bring on another person or two, that wouldn't have been a big issue. But your main objective for the first 60, 90, 120 days
Mhm.
is to maintain as many doors as possible. So
Got it.
you're not trying to lose a bunch of that volume that you just brought on.
Yeah,
Can you go
go for it.
into a little bit further detail about like what losing doors looks like? Are all of these doors already rented? Are you trying to find tenants for these doors? Like, what is there like typically a split between, you brought on 300. How does that look as entire portfolio?
So every company is different. If you found a company, you'd buy it obviously at a lower valuation. But if you found a company that only had like a 70% fulfillment rate, where they had for every 100 doors, only 70 of them were rented out, we would pay a lot less money for that. Property management company. This one, I think they were maintaining a 92 or 93%. That's actually pretty strong. I think they were all the way up to 97% for a while there. So they have a high, vacancy rate, where they're, have no vacancies at this point. So we paid top dollar for it, but it's a great company. It's ran great and the financials look amazing. So what was your main question on there though?
I think I'll transition the question a little bit just so people have like a really kind of good understanding of, to me, kind of twofold, right? Like first and foremost, why do you want to go down this route? I think that a lot of people that are probably watching this are either Blue Onyx investors, potential investors, trying to have a better understanding for obviously who you are and who we are. Why do you want to take that on? And do you have time to do that? And what is the kind of the grand vision for
Yeah.
bringing on
Well,
property management?
so property management company, I've been doing that before, way before Blue Onyx. I've been doing development for a long time, but I ran both of them side by side for a long time, but it was on the short term rental side. Been running it since approximately 2012. Got big into it 2014. We got into development around the same time. So that's when I started development. It was 2012. So they were within 2 years of each other when I really went heavy on both sides. But we have transitioned to 100% to long term. So it's no short term rentals. We've gotten rid of all the short term stuff. And while it sounds like it's almost the same thing, it's not even close to what long-term rentals are. Like, it's a completely different business. Everything about it is managed completely different.
And so I know going back, you were talking about build to rent and you being able to get in on that action, but also, I mean, does your property management company service any of your projects currently, like even the ones that are being developed, or is that completely separate?
No, it's completely separate. So we, you know this a little bit, but a lot of them are selling
Mhm.
off to a lot of the national builders. So none of them are BTRs. That is coming though. So you don't want to overextend yourself. Kind of what I think Andrew just mentioned a minute ago. Your whole objective, whenever you're bringing on different companies or different revenue sources, is not to stress yourself out. If it's stressing yourself out and you're not making money in five different things, it's not worth your time. You can do one thing, make a lot of money in it, and then put the right people in place and move over to the next thing. So luckily, I've found some great people that are part of our internal teams, which you guys met a few, especially you, Daniel, met some of the people internally for
Yep.
Blue Onyx. They could run this whole business without me. And not saying, that they don't need me, but here at St. Louis, they could literally run the business without me being here. Now the whole financial and everything else, I got to put all the money in, but that's a whole different
Yeah.
realm. But the business they can run and make it grow while I'm gone.
And that right there is the goal with anything that you run. I mean, that's the fact that your main jam, which is development, at least that I would say that's your main jam. Hopefully
Yep.
it's safe to say that. You can take your family to Disney World and the company can run without you. I mean, I feel like so many business owners, they sell this pipe dream to themselves like I'm going to be an entrepreneur, but then they end up being worse off than a guy with a 9 to 5 because all they have is golden handcuffs because I mean, why do you think that is? Like in my experience, a lot of times, and I kind of have this personality profile as well. Like if I become really good at something, I'm paranoid to hand it off to someone else
That's
because
exactly it.
you know what I'm saying? Like
So
I want to have control.
but why? Because that's the exact issue everybody has. Like, and I'm just thinking about like one of my friends. He's actually my son's stepdad, so his mom's fiance, whatever it is. But
Yeah.
he's a good dude. And his only issue, man, he would have amazing business. He's a tile layer, but he's getting older. You have to
Mhm.
be able to entrust our people. Even if someone you do it amazing, you do it so great at what you do, but if you can't off someone that could do it 80, 90% as well as you can, and you could trust them, why would you not hand it off? Because then you could start finding more of those people and it takes that workload off you. But that's the main thing, Daniel, is when you open up a business, you're like, oh, I'm gonna grow it into something amazing and big. But you always run into those situations where you're like, well, I couldn't trust this person. I couldn't trust this person. And you find tons of people you can't trust. But that doesn't
Yeah.
matter. You only got to find that one person that you can for each division, or whatever it is. And then
Yeah.
they have to oversee that whole group of people, which, a lot of times they are hourly employees and you got to love those people because, that's what you need in your business. Good
Yeah.
people that do their job and, they only want to get paid hourly and they just want to go home and work their 9 to 5.
Yeah, and I think although slightly off topic, but still fitting, when someone explores our deals from, an investor standpoint and they look at other things they want to invest in, even buying a company, I think it's really important to look at like, are you buying a company where the guy was just over controlling and he ran and although he ran a successful company, he's just running everything himself and it's not sustainable? Like, or are you buying a company that comes with systems? Are you investing in a company that comes with systems? Because I think in a lot of cases, if you're investing into an operator like Blue Onyx, if we didn't have systems and Kylie, something happened to him, God forbid, like that's gonna create some issues, right? So yeah, I think it's just really important. Like it's important for so many reasons. If you're going to invest into something, if you're going to buy the company, it's the thing that allows you to scale a company. And it really just comes down to, relinquishing control. Cause I mean, going back to what I was saying, like people are afraid that someone else is not going to do it as good as them. Well, they're not, at least not at first. But I guess that's just the pill that you have to swallow.
Yeah, I mean, they're not gonna do it as good, but doesn't mean they can't still do a great job. And
Right.
honestly, if you have someone in place, let's say I gave you my, position, like say, hey, Daniels, you're gonna be CEO of Blue Onyx or whatever. You're over cranking it out and you're giving it your best. Obviously,
Yeah.
I trust you, obviously, and you're just not quite measuring up to that. There's a whole team of people that I put around you that make it where you almost can't fail. Now, that takes time. You have to put that in
Yeah.
place, but you have to find people that you can entrust. And listen, like I've owned so many companies. I've thought, even family members, it is what it is. But
Mhm.
people you thought you could trust, they end up stealing from you. And it happens. It's just part of business. But as long as you take it into account and you stay up on top of your stuff, like there's great people out there. Like, and all I do, I've said this to you guys millions of times, like any business anymore, I pray to the man above, and I shouldn't say man above, but Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And like I leave everything to him. Like I donated my life to him. And ever since I've done that, everything has came out much smoother on my end. So not here to
Yeah.
pitch on all, religion or anything like that. But
No, but it's funny you say that because although most people don't think of faith as a system, but Kylie, I've never told you this, but like occasionally I'll talk to people about where I'm at this company and like I'll talk about how great it is and like I'll tell people. I was talking to my buddy the other day. I was like, dude, I feel like I'm at where I need to be. And he's just like, well, what like who tell me about the guy that you work for? And I was just like, and I was talking about you to him, but I was just like, this Kylie guy, he lives his life and runs his business as if he's on a mission from God. And if you really think about that, like if you're working with or for someone who is like operating from just like a much higher level, a level that they recognize as something that's larger than themselves. That's like rocket fuel. And I think, in case anybody's not quite following, if you look at this is a great example. If you look at some of the most successful professional fighters, like in the UFC, for example,
Mhm.
these guys from Dagestan, like completely taking over the sport. If you look at their life, they get up, they eat, they pray, and they train, and that's what they do, and they're just so dialed in. And I think, although maybe not the best example, but it's just, I
No,
still
it's a
think it's
great
a
one.
pretty
Yeah.
darn good example. I mean, that's the system. Because, like, sure, people can have all of these things offloaded from their plate, but if they're not living from a place of abundance and living this spiritually, abundant life, I mean, that's God, seems like a big missing piece, in my opinion,
No,
you know?
absolutely. You don't wanna be, in this world. You wanna be out of the world, but, it's funny you say that, Daniel. So when you come back, I haven't even showed you yet, but someone sent you something, so it's sitting here on one of the desk.
Oh,
I'm not
sweet.
sure if Becky told you about it, but this is your buddy that told you need to have Jesus in your life a little more.
Okay.
He
Very
sent it to you.
cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's very cool. But no, you're
Very
100% right.
awesome.
So, like, you gotta remember, and I'm not gonna try to make this sound too crazy, but you're one with the earth, and God is inside you, and He is part of you as well. So, if you're created in the image of the Lord, and I know we're going a little more spiritual with all this stuff, but He's all knowing. We don't know all. I don't know. One thing I do know is I know nothing. That's the one thing I do know. But if you have Him with you, like, and that's why I believe in, like, even going out and grounding. Like, that might not make sense to people, but all you do is take your shoes off, and you don't go step on probably dirt and soil down in Florida too much because they spray pesticides and herbicides all over the place. But, there's places, like especially here in Missouri, you just go out there and sit and, pray. Like, honestly, that's one of the best things where there's no noise. You're grounded with the earth. Your feet are on the earth, and
Yeah.
it restores your energy levels because your body's made of energy. I know we went a little
Yeah.
bit sidetracked there, but
Well,
No, but it's
I have a question to kind of transition, you know, from this overall topic. You kind of mentioned before too that you have wonderful people in place that can help run the business.
yep.
So if you have that, what is the highest and best use of your time within these businesses? Like how do you extract the most out of yourself to get the most out of everything that we have operationally going on?
Well, Daniel mentioned a minute ago, I wake up super early, so it depends on the day. Like today, I was a little lazy. I didn't get up till like 4:45. I was like, I felt like I got hit
Classic
by the train or something. Um, but
man.
I don't know if I just froze up there,
yeah,
but
get with the program, dude. 4:45. Jeez.
That's crazy.
well, it was late for me, and my son was already awake and waiting for me. And so we went and trained and everything. And I was like, it's cool, but I always, like you said, Daniel, I spend a little bit of time praying. But also, guys, like I do stuff that is routine every day. So like I tell my son all the time, and I listen to a lot of like Neville Goddard and all the different things. But mindset is everything, or Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, stuff like that.
Yep.
If you don't have your mindset right and you're not thinking about like you're thinking about negative things, guess what's going to happen?
Negative things.
Energy goes where attention, or however that's worded, but attention flows,
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
wherever attention is, energy goes. Where that wording is precise. So if you're thinking about negative things happening in your life, if you think about great things and like you can believe that you're going to be a millionaire, billionaire, whatever it is, and you wholeheartedly believe it, it will happen for you. But you have to believe it. It's not like, and not every day is going to be like, oh, I know I'm going to be this. It just has to be something like, when you plant, and I've heard this one 5 million times, but when you plant a seed in the ground, that seed, it's going to grow into, let's call it a, strawberry bush.
Mhm.
Dig it up every day and check to see if it's grown, right? You just keep having to water, or if it's in Missouri, you don't even have to water it because it rains enough.
Yeah.
But you just know it's going to grow. You don't
Yeah.
doubt it or anything else. If you believe that you're going to be the most like muscular person, or millionaire or whatever, you believed it as much as that seed that you just planted, that happened. You have to have that mindset. So it doesn't matter what you're in, what type of business you're in, or what you're doing currently. Mindset is everything. Everything.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I didn't mean
Absolutely.
that to be a showstopper.
No,
So
no, no. No, that's just like, but
It's
I
a
think
hard
it all
one to transition off of, man.
it
I mean,
is, it is, but it all kind of ties into what we're talking about, because like whether you are the one buying, and then we talk about like why companies fail like shortly after acquisition. Well, yeah, you can. I mean, if you don't have the mindset, regardless of like, okay, so for example, I know nothing about like property management. Like I know some stuff, but I know that if I wanted to buy a property management company, like I'm going to make it work, because I know I already have the data from other times in my life where I've overcome things from unfamiliar territory. It's like, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know I've done it before, and I know I'm going to do it. And I think one of the hard parts is like, if you don't have the data, just believing in yourself anyways, that's even more tough, And I think,
Well,
when
and just taking that one step even farther. So, like, you're absolutely right. Like, I've always been the exact same way. Like, you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it no matter what. But the problem with that is I put all the pressure on myself. Now, I don't do that. I go and I pray on it. And if it's not my will, but yours be done, that's what I always say, not my will, God, but yours be done. I leave it to Him. And when I leave it to Him, all the right people come into my life. So, if I was to go evaluate that deal on my own, I probably wouldn't have bought it because I wouldn't have known enough about it. But I've hired the best people. People were led to me. Like, I'm not gonna mention names, but the whole marketing team and everybody else that we have, those people were led to me, and I was told they were coming this way. And I knew what was gonna happen. And the people that have worked for Vacasa and Airbnb and all that, they've done this millions of times. I have not done that millions of times. So they
right,
know exactly what they're looking at, and they give you the confidence to make sure you're pulling the right triggers and you're gonna make the right choice. And it's a business that's already profitable, and your investors are gonna be very happy with the end result, which is them making more money.
So
yep,
we don't speak about like the super high level very often. We typically get into the nitty gritty of the details with deals and this, that, and the other thing. But like you're talking a lot about belief here and, shooting in a certain direction, right? So what is it that you are looking to achieve in the next, let's call it 5, 10, 20 years? Like what are you kind of putting your, emotional energy into that you're trying to manifest, if you will?
Yeah, fair enough. And honestly, I like the last word you just used there. So manifesting is huge for me. And you guys might not watch Supercross or motocross, but he's a young kid. I give him props, man. He must have had it embedded from his dad, which I respect 100% because I didn't have that, unfortunately. But
Deegan,
Deegan is one of them for sure.
yeah,
But Jet Lawrence and Hayden Deegan, those two definitely manifest things. And I love the way they think, even though, Hayden gets a lot of hate, but it's not about that for me. It's more about, his mindset on certain things. He does talk a lot of crap. So,
yeah,
but back to your question, Andrew, I love to say it's all financial anymore, but it's very little to do with anything financial. Obviously, a vast majority of the money that we do produce, it's just going to be donated. There are other people out there that I believe have the same belief system that are in the same industry, which, I'm not going to call them out too much, but like even Cody Bugan, I think they do a great job. And I think his beliefs are right with the Lord. And, if we make $10 billion, $100 billion, the vast majority of that's going to go to different donations. So that's where my heart's set with it because I know that's what I was set here to do. I've already made a ton of money and I already, I don't realistically have to work ever again, but that's irrelevant. Like, how boring it is to sit at home and how quickly you get old if you just don't do anything. And maybe I took too much on at one time. But with that being said, I'm very happy the people I'm working with, you two being two of them, and the rest of our team is just amazing. Honestly, you guys know that we got a great team.
yep. And I think I think I even said it on today's webinar.
Mhm.
One of your superpowers is being able to not only being able to relinquish control, but looking forward to a point where you can get stuff off your plate because you want somebody else to do it for you so that you can focus on the next level. I mean, from the time I started working with you till today, like you've got 3 or 4 extras in your office and they're all like absolute world class operators in
Yep.
their own right, and that's all you can really ask for. Like whether you're running a company and you're trying to get to the next step or even buying a company, you got to buy systems. You can't buy just a ship that's just barely floating.
Well,
um
you can buy one, but sometimes, and
yeah,
especially in this industry, you don't want to walk into, I don't know, a nightmare of a situation. Like you want to buy the good businesses that are already
yeah,
producing, and I would just rather pay the higher dollars because they have systems that might basically plug them right into our system and add on
yeah,
to what we already have. So that's kind of what we're looking for. Not necessarily do we need to be the biggest and best anymore. That's where my brain has always been. I got to be the biggest, best, and everything.
yeah,
That's not really my mindset anymore. So it's changed over the
yeah.
years, and I wouldn't have said that probably even 5 years ago. But you know, trying to humble myself a little bit.
Yeah, I guess I did just misspeak just now because I said you wouldn't wanna buy something that's about to sink, but a lot of people would see that as an opportunity. It's just like, "I know why your ship's sinking. I can come in. I know exactly how to fix this,"
Yep.
you know?
Well, and there's people that
So,
specialize in that, and that's what they like.
yeah,
But I'm not going to correlate this to what I was just thinking. But there's a lot of situations, it could be in our relationships, where you're like, you see someone, you really want to help them out, but is that your responsibility to go help them out? Like you help people out so much sometimes,
Yeah.
unless they're, obviously your wife or something like that, then you took that
Yeah.
obligation for the rest of your life. But
Yeah.
other people, you want to help them out as much as possible, but it's not your obligation. You need to pray for them and everything else. So you
Yeah.
take it to a certain level, and then you let the Lord handle the rest of that.
Yeah.
Daniel, I think you gave me some congestion. You were the congested
Yes,
earlier.
from across. It's the season. Well, I'm also in a
Allergies.
place where it can't make up its mind what season we're in. So,
Yeah, yeah. Tell me about it.
well, I don't know that this podcast went exactly where I thought it would go, but there's going to be some awesome clips here. We definitely got into some stuff that
Mhm.
got my gears turning. I
Yeah,
guess,
guys, honestly, we probably should do a podcast, and maybe have people comment on it. But like, I'm such a big believer on mindset, and just the way you think is what happens
yeah,
in your life. Like it's huge because, like, you can think about anything in your childhood. Like and I'm not gonna bring up too much because whatever, doesn't matter. But being weird things happened to me when I was young. And all that other stuff that could have damaged me, just like the other people that I grew up with. I have technically one older sister and one younger brother, but the 2 people I grew up with, they're about my same age as well, and don't wanna say anything bad about them, but 3 of the 4 people have went to, drugs or stealing and stuff like that, and, the other one's a pretty good person overall, but, it's just weird, the group I grew up around, I'm not saying I'm any better than them at all. It's just, the weird stuff, bad stuff that happened to us. It turns you into who you are unless you change your way of thinking. So, I think it's a huge, topic, and it'd be a great one to discuss, honestly, it'd be kinda fun.
yeah, absolutely. All right, gentlemen, we good to wrap here? You think?
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Well, unless Andrew, you got anything else you want to throw in?
Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Yep.
I don't know. It's always good to take a peek behind the hood, though, of all of the other things that don't always just regard business. It's we all kind of get to a certain place. And sorry if you hear my son screaming.
That sounds like someone's calling you right now.
Yeah, he's having the time of his life down there. But yeah, appreciate it.
Nope. Thanks everybody for jumping on. God bless, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Take it easy.
See ya.